Well, Harold, I want to thank you again for hopping on the call with me. I greatly appreciate it. First question for
Thanks
you.
for setting it up.
Yeah, definitely. Could you take me back to the moment when you first started with your, essentially with your the DG community?
DG community. Okay, so we're going to go back a little bit here. I got married a few years ago, but one of the main things that I'm a real estate investor.
Hmm.
And kind of the joke is that I used to own a town. Now I just kind of own a street. But what was happening was um, we ran into a kind of a soft spot in the economy, and rents were not going up, but at the same time, property taxes, insurance
Mhm.
was going through the roof for less coverage. Utilities were going up. Renos and like people were moving out of my places, and even the great tenants, you'd always need three, four, $5,000 worth of cleanup before you could get it ready for the next tenant, and it was just killing my cash flow.
Mhm.
And so after I got married, we were looking around for some options, and we started looking into the digital world. And one of the things that I found was it was another program, and it looked good. We went to some of the presentations, and it looked good, very expensive.
Mhm.
And so we got into this thing, but we never got the traction. So, I mean, the market valued my efforts at $100. That's all I made in that program after about a year and a half. I
Uh-huh.
got into a second program, which was more of a startup, and same thing there. It cost me a lot of money, and it went nowhere. And so I was kind of sitting there going, well, I believe in the digital world. I see the way it's growing. I see the stats. And they're official stats. I mean, it's not like you're just getting somebody's dream.
Right.
These are official stats. And I believe that there was a really good opportunity here, but I just didn't find the vehicle. And then a lady that I knew through one of the other programs, she had a post on Facebook, and it was $900 a day, the usual routine. And
Mhm.
I sent her a couple of notes. I said, well, what is this? And so she said, well, here's what you want to do. He says, here's my site, get on there, you'll get the blueprint, you'll get all the information, you'll get the video with all your questions, or with answers to all your questions. So I looked at all that, and I talked to her a little bit more about it. I said, well, how do they make money? Well, she explained all that to me. And I said, well, what about this? What about that? What exactly is this? Because, of course, my previous programs were, we're going to teach you how to sell our program,
Mhm.
not the other way around. I was not building a business. Essentially, again, I was a contractor. And so all of a sudden, legacy builders, the digital DGC came along, and all of a sudden it's like, this is mine.
Mhm.
Like, so yeah, I kind of jumped in with both feet. Um, it was about a year ago. I got some good traction fairly quickly, and just kept on learning, kept on checking out the trainings, kept on building my skills, creating content, kept on refining my message. So here we are a year later, and kind of rocking and rolling. Not the traction I wanted, but I've got an option. I've got somebody that'll answer my questions without trying to sell me another program, which was that happened a lot in the previous programs,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
it's just an amazing place to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's one of the great things that I love about it too, right? It kind of just provides that just as long as you are staying consistent with it, right? It's like you said, it's just it because success comes in different stages, right? And at all different levels. So right for someone who jumps into the program, they may hit six stages. I've seen it within, 3 months, which is just crazy, I've seen it 6 months, seen a year, take 5 years. But that's the biggest thing that I tell people, or biggest piece of advice that I can give them is if you just stay consistent, you constantly work the program, eventually those little steps they'll compound into these huge explosions of success that you'll see. So,
Yeah,
no, I'm glad you're
and
sticking
be
with
ready
it.
to learn.
Yeah, absolutely,
And I like to
absolutely.
think I am. So
Absolutely. So aside from like wanting, another income stream, was there anything else that you were kind of craving at that point as far as like, maybe time freedom or maybe even like impact or stability, anything like that?
I needed stable income. And I mean, I'm going through it right now again.
Hmm.
Real estate, it has its advantages. I'm not going to diss real estate. I was a real estate investor. I still am a real estate investor, but I've been doing it for 20 years now. But all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, by the way, this tenant moved out. We need $5,000 worth of stuff. We need $5,000 worth of cleanup. $45,000 boiler in one of my apartment buildings. A new roof on another place, and it's like, how do you budget for that when all of a sudden it
Right.
comes up that five, 10, 20, $40,000 goes out of your bank account? And that's what was happening to me before was, well, I need to get a little bit out of my line of credit.
Hmm.
Okay, now I need to get a little bit more out of my line of credit. And the next thing you know, your line of credit is just tick, 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 tick. Well, it only goes up so far, right? And that's what ended up happening to me. I ended up having to sell a building to pay off my line of credit. And that when it came along with 100% or you make 100% profit, and I'm looking at it going, so I can make stable income as long as I can create the value for my people, for my clients, for my ideal folks.
Mhm.
I can create 100% profit without having to worry about needing a new roof, needing a bunch of bills, needing property taxes
Exactly.
going up 10% a year.
Definitely.
And so all of a sudden it's like, sign me up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice having being a part of a program too, where it's like, right, it's like as far as expenses go, there really aren't any, right? Depending on what, your field is or what you're teaching or your community is, there isn't a whole lot
Yeah,
of expense that goes
yeah,
with this,
yeah.
right?
The
So
previous program I was involved in, um, not only was it expensive, but you needed to subscribe to your funnels. You needed to subscribe to your email autoresponders. You needed to subscribe to this, that, and the other thing. And there was like $200 a month in subscriptions.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen those. I've had
Yeah,
friends that
none of that
are
here.
part of it. The tools themselves are, especially depending on the ones that you use, are so expensive.
Mhm.
I've seen some go as high as, $800 a month, which is more
Yeah,
than they paid to even get into a certain program or things like that, which is just crazy.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
but who would you say that you're building this for?
So my build is for, I call them Chuck and Amelia.
Mhm.
Hard to believe, right? I'm a pilot, so you get the
Okay,
name, the,
very
the
cool.
name.
Yeah.
But they're essentially the 55 to just kind of below retirement, or maybe just touching into retirement. And the kids are heading for college. Um, and they're sitting there going, well, we thought we saved a lot of money, because here's the catch 22. Folks think, oh, I've got all this money saved. I've got one or $200,000 saved, or whatever it happens to be. That's nothing.
Mhm.
In this day and age, if you don't have a minimum $1 million saved for retirement, you're not going to do very well. And who can do that? I mean, you know, first of all, the number, like, the people have a mental block against that number. Like, I'm going to be a millionaire. Well, how am I going to do that on a 9 to 5? But anyways, yeah, I'm talking about that type of a person who's, they're going into the retirement. They thought they had good money saved. All of a sudden, inflation's going through the roof. They've got to take a bunch of money out to pay for kids' college, so that the kids don't get saddled with a bunch of college debt. And now they're kind of looking at it and going, am I still going to be able to retire when I'm 63, 65, whatever that date is, or am I going to have to work till I'm 80?
Mhm.
I wanted
Definitely.
to go out and do things. I've got a list. And most people do. They've got a bucket list a mile long, and they're just looking at it, and it's just a dream,
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the that's
and
the sad thing. And you see it more often than not, unfortunately. It's just right. I think we're told from such a young age and that we're so caught up in this system where it's like you have to work, you know, all this time till you're, whatever the retirement age, 65, 66, 67. So it's like you put in all this time, all this effort, you give up so much, whether it be with your family, friends, whatever the case may be, just your own
yeah,
personal life. And then you get to that retirement age and it's like you go take a look at your social security and it's like, well, where the heck is the rest of my money? You know?
yeah,
And so it's like, yeah, like you said, you had all these dreams of doing these things once you retired because that's what you were working so hard to do. And now you
mhm,
can't even afford to do a fraction of those things, right?
You
So
could barely pay your utilities.
yeah, it's sad to see
Like
it.
I got the number. I turned well, I mean, you we're going back a couple of years, but in Canada, when you turn 60, you get the letter. And it's like, okay, if you start taking your CPP, you call it Social Security, we call it CPP. If you start taking that at 60, you get this much,
Mhm.
65 is this much, 70 is this much. And I'm looking at it going, that won't even pay my utilities.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So
It's
yeah,
crazy. And it's like, yeah, it's like, well, now that I wanted to retire, it's like I can't because I got to go get a
mhm,
job to cover the rest of my expenses.
yep,
So it's and
yep.
then it's just crazy. It's sad
And
to
now
see.
all of a sudden health's becoming an issue because maybe they can't do those things anymore.
I
There's a
absolutely.
couple of things on my bucket list that I was waiting for,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden, those options are not available anymore.
Yeah, it just adds a whole nother level of stress. And
Yeah,
that retirement is about living stress free, right? Like that's the
yeah,
dream. That was the goal. But yeah, it's
yeah.
just it's sad to see. So what
So
would you
what did you put
say?
in 40 years for?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So what would you say is different about you now compared to when you had first joined the DG community?
I have hope. I've got something here that I can build on. I've got a community that I can be part of that helps me. 53,000 people all moving in the same direction, all wanting, different versions of the same basic thing.
Definitely.
And it's just a really good place to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, I look at that number, because we just hit the 53,000 members and it blows my mind. Like I look at it and I can't even fathom the amount of people that are in there, right? It's more than some small
Yeah,
countries,
yeah.
which is crazy to me, but they're all
Bigger
there.
than the town that I grew up in.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's like 100x of the towns I grew up, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing because all those people in there are like-minded, just like yourself and myself, right? So they're all working towards the same goal. They all want something better for themselves. So it's like any which way you turn, you can lean on a shoulder, ask for advice, which I really love about that as well.
Mhm.
Is there anything or something that you're most proud of accomplishing so far within, your own business right now?
Oh my gosh, so many things. Just certainly the learning, um, and to be able to being able to mentor a little bit. Like I was telling Michelle the other day, I was on with some, I don't know this guy from Adam. I was on with some stranger, and he was asking me advice about how to get his message out.
Mhm.
I didn't make any money on it, but it just felt super good to be able to help somebody
Absolutely.
with no expectation.
Hmm.
I mean,
Definitely.
I didn't, go back to him and say, hey, buy my program or whatever. No, I just said, here's what I think you should be doing right now. Give it a shot. Let me know how you did.
Definitely. Yeah, and that's great too, right? It just uh, from learning, everything in the course, and then it's like being able to implement that or even give advice on it. That's just as powerful as well. Even if they don't buy anything from you, it's like, well, I'm able to give
No
them
matter.
something, some
Mhm.
value. So
Well, sometimes that's a better paycheck than somebody putting some money in your bank account.
100%. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more with that. So, we talk a lot about mindset, not only how important it is in life, but also just in business and in general. Was there any type of shift that kind of happened for you when you got started with all this that kind of made a big difference for you?
Big difference. I think it would probably be just the faith in the folks that Mike and Michelle and all the folks that are just they're there.
Mhm.
And I would get defensive on the last ones because I knew, they'd give you a training, but I knew this is my previous courses, my previous programs that I was in. They would give you a training, but at the end of it, they're going to be asking you for money.
Right.
And when I do a training here, one of the one of the one of the nicest things about it is that it's just like, I hope you guys got value out of this. I'll see you in a couple of days.
Mhm.
Let me know how it implemented. Let me know how it worked out, and I'll see you in a couple of days. And it's such a nice place to be when you're getting that kind of support without an expectation at the end.
Definitely. Definitely. And I can speak on that pretty good because Mike and Michelle themselves, like I said, I've known them for years now. And they're just constantly give, 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 right?
Yeah.
As long as I've known them, I've never heard them ask anybody for anything. It's just constantly, trying to help, trying to give value to others and never asking for
Hmm.
anything in return. It's like,
Hmm.
which I love about them. I think it's one of their best qualities. And like I said, it's just
Yeah.
even with, how big this has grown, it's like it's still just constantly giving, 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 which is amazing.
Those qualities are very rare these days.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very hard to come by. And so it's like I'm so glad like that everyone who's in this program is, kind of they're on the forefront of it because you couldn't ask for better people to lead it, to learn
Yeah.
from.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's fast forward a little bit. Say your community is growing, right? You're helping the type of people you want to help, you're making the type of money that you want to make. What does your dream life look like 12 months from now? What do you see yourself doing?
Flying. I've got a list of airplanes a mile long, and I'll be experiencing them. And
Definitely.
I mean, this stuff's expensive. Like, I mean, expensive.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
So, but I mean, you can't take this stuff, like, you can't take those experiences away.
Right.
So, money, whatever, yeah, that's fine. It's just a byproduct. It's just a store of energy.
Mhm.
But it's being able to experience those things. My wife Shan, I mean, she's traveled a little bit, but her travel is basically going to an all-inclusive in Mexico. I mean, now we're talking about, we've been on a couple cruises now. Now we're talking about going to Europe, and now I've got the freedom, in 12 months or so, if you're talking about what that 12 months looks like, we will have the freedom to be able to experience Europe, experience Southeast Asia, experience whatever we want to experience. Be there for the grandkids. Like, she's off to the lake this weekend. She's taken my grandson, our grandson, to the lake for the weekend. And just, what about doing that through the week? We'll have that freedom.
Mhm.
We'll have that freedom to create content, to work our business from wherever we happen to be. And the one thing that I really like, we talked about this a little bit more, about how people, they get stuck in that, they get into their 60s and they've got nothing left.
Mhm.
One of the things that I really would like to do is encourage people in that age group to, like, listen, your life's not over. You're not going to have to survive and exist for the next, you know until people are sitting around saying what a nice person you were. You can get out there and you can live. You can have those options. It's not too late to start over. And follow me, and I'll show you what I'm doing to create that kind of lifestyle that, now all of a sudden your bucket list stuff is stuff that you can do.
Definitely. No, 100%. Yeah, that's great advice. I love that.
Yeah.
So, what do you think it would mean to you? Well, not only yourself, but your family, your future legacy when you actually pull it off.
Be a hell of a mentor, won't I? But it would be, yeah, again, I mean, it would be super nice to, lead by example rather than just be part of the herd, so to speak.
Mhm.
So the kids can say, you know what, dad, grandpa pulled it off when he was in his 60s. You hear about all these people like Colonel Sanders and some of these other folks that, they really made their money after they turned 60.
Right.
They really created their legacy after they turned 60. And I would really like to have that option, that these kids can say, you know what, dad never stopped, grandpa never stopped,
Definitely. I love that. I love
you
that.
know. Always doing something else. I got a list, a mile long of crazy
Yeah.
stuff I want to do, and most of it does not involve, sitting in a golf cart, so to speak.
No, I love it. I'm excited to see when you get there, man. So,
I can't wait.
is there something, maybe one thing, or it could even be a couple things that you've learned about yourself since starting this entire journey?
The main thing I think that I've learned, certainly there's been a few blocks in there. Um, a bit of an aloofness that's kind of based on, you know, insecurities and stuff like that. And that stuff I'm working my way through.
Mhm.
And again, I feel safe in this. This is my family now, and I feel safe in being able to talk about those things and to ask, for some help about those things.
Definitely.
So yeah, the thing that I learned about myself was, these are some blocks that I have. I'm going to work my way through them. I desire to work my way through them, and I will.
No, I'm awesome. That's awesome that you realize that, right? Especially just going through this. Yeah, it's crazy
Yeah.
what people don't know about themselves till they actually start like digging in. And
Hmm.
that's what I love about this program too, is that it'll ask you some of those tough questions, so so it
Yep.
kind of helps, peel back the layers of yourself to help you understand yourself better and others. So
Hmm.
that's really great as
Well, I
well.
mean, that stuff hurts, right? When you really
Yeah,
start to dig into it, and you start looking at yourself in the mirror, you got to make sometimes some kind of stark revelations.
absolutely.
And a lot of people, it's easier for them to do nothing.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
easier
yeah.
for them to just leave the status quo, just keep it going.
Definitely. Oh, you hit the nail on the head with that one. So, what advice would you give to someone who was maybe in your position, someone who's maybe on the fence about doing something like this, or even scared to start, just with the program like DG Community?
Do it scared. Do it scared. We're all scared.
Mhm.
I mean, I'll tell you a story here. Like, I'm a pilot. I fly aerobatics.
Okay.
I've been in places with an airplane that I didn't know whether I was going to make it out the other side or not. Well, the first time I pressed the button for alive, my hands were shaking. So we're all scared. Introvert, extrovert, blah, 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 whatever. We're all scared. Do it scared. Because
Absolutely.
if it doesn't scare you, it's probably not worth doing. Get out of your comfort zone. Make uncomfort your comfort zone.
Definitely. Such good advice, man. That was so good. So good. So,
Thanks.
what last question for you? What do you now know is possible?
Anything. It's up to me to choose. I can have what I want. I've got consequences. I have to work for it, and I will. But whatever I want is available. If I want to fly these crazy airplanes that I want to fly, I can do that. If I want to take off for a month and do a transatlantic cruise, I can do that. Whatever I want to do. If I want to go diving in South Pacific, I can do that. If I want to hit up Galapagos Islands, I don't know. That's just something that's kind of come up a little bit lately, but I'd love to experience that. But if I want to do these things, I can do it. So anything is possible. It's up to me to choose, but I better get going at it because, the clock is ticking every second that you know, every moment of our day is a moment we don't get back. So
Mhm. Definitely.
start taking some action, start making some things happen.
Yes, absolutely. I love it, man. I love it. That was great. Well, Harold, that is all the questions I had for you. Not so bad, right? Um,
Pretty good grill in there. You got the eyes a little misty a couple of times, but all is
Hey,
good.
yeah, no, that tends to happen. It's not my intentions to make that happen, but
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. No worries.
but I want to thank you again, Harold, for hopping on with me. You're great. You're awesome. I'm excited to see your journey and see where you end up, and hopefully we can hop back on one of these and you can tell me about all the success you're having, man.
I would love to.
All righty, well, I appreciate your
Much
time, Harold.
appreciated.